What useless fact would you like to share? Due to the shape of the North American elk's esophagus, even if it could speak, it could not pronounce the word lasagna. The color orange was named after the fruit, not the other way around. There's a town in Alaska named Chicken. It was supposed to be named Ptarmigan, but the townspeople couldn't figure out how to spell it, so they went with chicken instead. Vikings fused crushed animal bones with iron to fuse the spirit of the animal in the weapon, but this actually just made a predecessor to steel. 4 years ago, my boss took his wife to see the Sister Act play. They got dinner before the show and he ordered the Southwest Quinoa Bowl. The original definition of a factoid is an assumption or speculation that is reported and repeated so often that it becomes accepted as fact. But the word has been used so much as a small piece of trivia that it has now been accepted as such. So the definition of a factoid is, in itself, a factoid. Apparently, it is explicitly illegal in the UK to use a machine gun to kill a hedgehog, which means someone did it. A second is called a second because it is the second division of the hour by 60, the first division being a minute. Michael Jackson's hair caught fire at the exact middle of his life, to the day. The grumbling sound your stomach makes, particularly when you're hungry, is called borborygmus. It's actually gas moving through the bowels. Edit, words. I remember reading this on a similar thread some years ago. Taser is an acronym of Thomas A. Swift's electric rifle. Spaghetti is actually plural. It's 2 spaghetti and 1 spaghetto. Same goes for espresso, cappuccino, etc. Penguins have sex with other dead penguins, even if it's just a severed head. After seeing the replies, I want to delete this, but also Karen. The seabird, booby, is named such after the Spanish word bobo, referring to an idiot. Boobas would be the only seabird to land on sailing ships. Thus sailors took advantage of this and started setting traps for the birds to catch and eat them. Want to know what the traps were called? Edit. Whoa, this blew up. Thanks for the gold, mate. Every flight you have been on, and will go on, there is always something not working. Whether it be an armrest or a minor electrical system. The crew will know about it, but it's usually something minor, so there's no danger whatsoever. It's called the minimum equipment list. It varies depending on aircraft type. Whales ejaculate 70 gallons into the ocean. Bird poop is green because it contains the bird's urine, which is also green. There are these creatures called cyclostomata that just die right after they lose their virginity. I mean, it's just sad. Those plastic bags of ramen are serving size is half of the bag. I want to know who opens it, breaks it in half, and puts the other half away for another time. And how do you split the seasoning pack in half? The word California originated through Spanish, but was from Arabic in a story with Moorish legends. It was from the word caliphate. Barcode scanner scanned the white, not the black. The fax machine was invented before the telephone. When you mimic a rooster crowing, they will consider you their mortal enemy for life and always attack you on sight. They will also try to show off their might by tapping their feet on the ground in quick succession and do a little sideways dance with one wing almost touching the ground, with the back of the rooster in full display. Also, chickens only know very few words, which you can learn easily and use to talk with them. There is a massive pothole at the intersection of Harrodsburg and Maine. Avoid it. The water that they drink on the ice is reclaimed from all other water sources on the ship. They are drinking their own filtered piss, among other things. On average, 2 newborns are given to the wrong parent every day. If a polar bear and a grizzly bear mate, their offspring is called a pizzly bear. Hitler's first dog came to him when he was in the trenches during World War I. A small white Jack Russell Terrier, apparently the property of an English soldier, was chasing a rat and inadvertently jumped in the trenches where Hitler was stationed. Hitler caught the terrier and made the dog his own. He called him Fuchsl, meaning little fox. Thank you for the gold, friend, I appreciate it very much. The boy sitting next to me in English last week got in trouble for talking to ants. Otters sleep holding hands, so they don't drift apart. They also rape baby seals to death. 2 cherry stones contain enough arsenic to kill you. Edit. Sorry, I must have worded this wrong. 2 or more crushed cherry pits can harm you. I apologize for worrying anyone. The Phantom of the Opera has his iconic half mask, so the audience could see more of the actor's performance. It was changed so late in the production that they'd already made the posters. That's why it shows a full mask on the posters. Koalas are horrible animals. They have one of the smallest brain-to-body ratios of any mammal. Additionally, their brains are smooth. A brain is folded to increase the surface area for neurons. If you present a koala with leaves plucked from a branch laid on a flat surface, the koala will not recognize it as food. They are too thick to adapt their feeding behavior to cope with change. In a room full of potential food, they can literally starve to death. This is not the token of an animal that is winning at life. Speaking of stupidity in food, one of the likely reasons for their primitive brains is the fact that additionally to being poisonous, eucalyptus leaves, the only thing they eat, have almost no nutritional value. They can't afford the extra energy to think. They sleep more than 80% of their lives. When they are awake, all they do is eat, shit, and occasionally scream like Satan. Because eucalyptus leaves hold such little nutritional value, koalas have to ferment the leaves in their guts for days on end. Unlike their brains, they have the largest hind gut-to-body ratio of any mammal. Many herbivorous mammals have adaptations to cope with harsh plant life taking its toll on their teeth. Rodents, for instance, have teeth that never stop growing. Some animals only have teeth on their lower jaw, grinding plant matter on bony plates in the tops of their mouths. Others have enlarged molars that distribute the wear and break down plant matter more efficiently. Koalas are no exception. When their teeth erode down to nothing, they resolve the situation by starving to death. Because they are terrible animals. Being mammals, koalas raise their joeys on milk, admittedly one of the lowest milk yields to body ratio. There's a trend here. When the young joey needs to transition from rich, nourishing substances like milk to eucalyptus, a plant that seems to be making it abundantly clear that it doesn't want to be eaten. It finds it does not have the necessary gut flora to digest the leaves. To remedy this, the young joey begins nuzzling its mother's anus until she leaks a little diarrhea, actually fecal pap, slightly less digested, which he then proceeds to slurp on. This partially digested plant matter gives him just what he needs to start developing his digestive system. Of course, he may not even have needed to bother nuzzling his mother. She may have been suffering from incontinence. Why? Because koalas are riddled with chlamydia. In some areas the infection rate is 80% or higher. This statistic isn't helped by the fact that one of the few other activities koalas will spend their precious energy on is rape. Despite being seasonal breeders, males seem to either not know or care, and will simply overpower a female regardless of whether she is ovulating. If she fights back, he may drag them both out of the tree, which brings us full circle back to the brain. Koalas have a higher than average quantity of cerebrospinal fluid in their brains. This is to protect their brains from injury should they fall from a tree. An animal so thick it has its own little built-in special head helmet. I hate them. TLDR, koalas are stupid, leaky, stee-riddled sex offenders. But, hey, they look cute. If you ignore the terrifying snake eyes and terrifying feet. Braille was made because Napoleon wanted a way for his soldiers to communicate quietly without the use of visual light, so one of his people made a version of Braille as a solution, but was scrapped and later simplified for blind people. If you have 2 legs, you have more than the average amount of legs. Birds are dinosaurs, but they are not bird-hip dinosaurs. Obviously they have bird hips and they are dinosaurs, so they are bird-hip dinosaurs, but they are not bird-hip dinosaurs. They are lizard-hipped bird-hip dinosaurs. It takes roughly the same amount of effort to bite through a finger as it does to bite through a carrot. A group of baboons is called a congress. Peonies won't flower without having a significant amount of ants crawling over them. When buying plants for your home and garden, there is the choice of annual or perennial. Annuals need to be replanted annually, while perennials are permanent and should come back every year. Ted Bundy and Jack Nicholson had very similar childhoods. Yet, one became a serial killer and the other became a famous actor. A good nature vs nurture argument, I suppose. According to my Python code, if you tackle the 8 bosses of a Mega Man game in a random order, you'll have to defeat 5.97 bosses on average in order for all the remaining bosses to be weak to a weapon in your arsenal. Edit. I messed up. Turns out I don't know enough about Mega Man games. I assumed that the bosses could be arranged so their weaknesses formed a single 8 cycle, which isn't always the case, apparently. There is actually such thing as white crows. They are born with no melanin in their bodies, making them white. But you never see white crows, because due to their color they are most likely killed and eaten by their mothers when they are still in the nest. If they do somehow live to be an adult, they are shunned by other crows and live a lonely life. Arkansas and Kansas are spelled the same because they both derive from the same etymological root, a Sioux word meaning downriver. They are pronounced differently because the Kansans took the French pronunciation of the word and the Kansans took the Spanish pronunciation. Astronomer here. Maybe too late to this party, but magnetars are pretty amazing. They are neutron stars with huge magnetic fields millions of times stronger than any magnetic field we can create on Earth. If you went within 1,000 kilometers of one you would die, because the electrons in your body would literally be ripped from their atoms due to the magnetic field.